Hello, everybody. Long time no see. This is another episode of Small Biz and Coffee. It's been a while since I have made any episodes, actually, any podcast episodes, because it has just been a crazy year for me, a lot of changes, and I wanted to talk about what I've been doing the past year and more about running a candle shop, so a brick and mortar candle shop. I'm actually doing this from home today because one of the reasons why I haven't really been online that much is or doing like live streams and things, is really because the internet is pretty bad in my area. So doing a live stream is actually kind of risky because a lot of the time, hello, how are you? A lot of the time the internet is kind of bad in this area, so I've always kind of held off on doing live streams because of that reason. So it looks like we have some people coming in. What's up, you guys? So I'm doing this from home because the internet is a lot better at home versus my storefront. So so for the past year has been kind of crazy. The last time not last time, well, it's been so as you all know, I moved to a new town, and when I moved to the new town, I ended up getting a storefront, and then right after I ended up opening my storefront, like literally within the same month. This all happened in the same month because I opened to the public in November, but I've had the storefront for over a year now. But I opened to the public in November, and then that same month I got a book deal with C&T Publishing to write a candle making book, which was exciting, and it's their first ever candle making book. They usually specialize in like sewing books. Hello, we got some people. Patrina, how are you? So they usually specialize in sewing books, so I was the first person to come in and make like a candle making book. So if you don't know, C&T Publishing does a whole bunch of like craft books. So the same month I opened the store to the public, I got a book deal, and I really underestimated the amount of work that goes into creating a book, because not only did I write it, I had to think of all of the projects that were going to be in the book. I had to write about all the projects, and the hardest part, honestly, was photographing everything. So I took hundreds of photos for this book, and it took me it was very challenging. So that's one of the reasons those are the reasons why I haven't really done a whole bunch of YouTube videos and live streams and things like that. But those projects are kind of wrapping up, and things are slowing down for the summer. So I was like, let's get back into this and kind of start doing all the things that I've had on the back burner. So that is kind of what's been going on with me. And so I did end up launching Candle Biz Academy again yesterday. So for the whole year, I didn't launch my course, and I was getting a whole bunch of messages about the course, and I just didn't have time to kind of manage that. But I did end up launching it yesterday, so that link is in the bio if you all are interested. But that's kind of what I've been up to for the past year. It's been very crazy, and I have some other things that I think in this fall I have something that's really exciting. I'm going to be in a magazine, so I had to do a project for a magazine, and the crazy thing is I didn't even know what the magazine was until like a month after I finished the project. And so I did the project, and I did the project, and I was contacted to they're like, oh, we really love your things, you're going to be, would you like to work with us for this magazine? And I thought it was just maybe like a small independent magazine, and I never thought to Google what this magazine was, and it's called Do It Yourself Magazine. I never thought to Google it. I just was like, okay. And then after the project ended, I decided to Google the magazine, and I saw it was Better Homes and Garden, and I had no idea. I was like, oh, I had no idea that's what the project was for. So that's going to come out, I think this fall, and it's crazy because I started working on that a year ago, last fall. So that's really exciting also. And so the book is coming out early next year. So we're in the second phase of revisions. I think at this point we're really wrapping it up. I think by the end of August will kind of be when everything wraps up. So we're just trying to make sure everything, like the manuscript is good and all of the images are good. So yeah. Better Homes and Garden. Is it a Walmart brand? So I know for sure, I think Better Homes and Garden does have products because I have seen them in Walmart. But I do know that they have a magazine also, and it's called Do It Yourself Magazine. And whenever they contacted me, they were just like, they kept saying Do It Yourself Magazine. So I was like, okay, I had no idea what that was. And then a month later, I Googled who it was, and I was like, oh, okay. But that was I guess they work in advance because they only come out with 4 issues per year. So they work like far in advance. And so I pretty much did the project, like it was a year ago when they first contacted me, the same month. So in November, I was contacted to do the magazine, do the book, and I opened my store. So there was a lot going on this past year, and time flew by, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have not opened my candle making course, and a lot of people are asking me, and I kept kind of postponing it, but it was just kind of very hectic. But like I said, we're open now, and I had some new students coming in, and it's very exciting. So that's kind of what I've been doing for the past year. So I kind of wanted to like give you guys some perspective on starting a candle shop, like a physical brick and mortar store. Because when I first started my store, someone asked if I bought a membership, do I still have access to the Academy? If you've purchased the Academy at any point before today, you still have access. So how it works is once you purchase, you have access for as long as I'm running the course. So your access never expires, and then any new updates. So if I decide to put new videos or whatever, you still have access. So anyone who purchased the course in the past will have access. And then the same thing, if you purchase it now, you have access, forever. Because I've purchased courses before where the access expires, and it's really annoying because people have lives, right? And sometimes you just don't feel like doing something, or sometimes you are not in the headspace to like go through an online course. Maybe you bought it and you're like have a lot going on, and when the membership expires, it's kind of annoying because courses are really expensive. And mine, like honestly, I've taken courses that were like $8,000 before, and they were very helpful, but when it expires, like you wish you could go back and see the content. So I'm like, my class, it never expires, and you always have access to the videos and anything new, because it's just like, I've had students who bought the course like 2 years ago, and they're just now starting it. And I had someone email me like last week, and they were like, I had a lot of things going on in my life, and I'm just now starting it, they were asking for like a password reset or something. So stuff happens, and it's just, when you put an investment into like a class and then it expires, it's kind of like, it's a little annoying. So if you purchased it in the past, then you still have access. You may, if you can do a password reset if you forgot or something. But yeah, so with the storefront, when I started, getting into it, I had no idea on how it even worked. So a lot of the past year has been kind of stressful because it's been a lot of troubleshooting and realizing things as I go, because I literally had no mentors, nobody to look to kind of figure this out. And now I'm starting to get messages from people because they know that I have a storefront, and they're like, I'm looking, I want to have my own storefront. What advice do you have to give? And things like that. So this is the live stream for those people. Let's see, I bought the course 2 years ago, and I go and reference videos. I just watched the SEO video. Yeah, like SEO is huge, and I still, I'm so big on search engine optimization. I don't understand why people don't like talk about it more, because it's literally, I don't know, that you can make so many sales just from learning how to use search engine optimization. But yeah, the SEO part is really valuable in my opinion. But yeah, so now I'm starting to get more people who are messaging me, and they're kind of like, how do I start? How do I, even look for a building? What's going on? I want to get like a storefront also. So before I even talk about like, my experience with a storefront, if you're planning on getting a storefront, I recommend at least being established with your business for a few years. You want to make sure you have the product down, and you want to make sure you have the customer base and all of that before you kind of invest in a storefront. So if you just started your candle business and you're already looking for like storefronts, you might want to like, give it a few years to really get established and kind of refine the product. Because storefront is like a huge investment and things like that, and you don't want to like get in there and have a bad product, and you know what I mean. So that's my advice there. So before I had a storefront, I actually did have kind of a workspace. It wasn't like a storefront, and that was kind of nice. I really liked having that. I didn't have the obligation to be there at certain times. And anyways, we're going to get into that too, and how I feel about, running a storefront. But my advice when you are looking for a storefront, there are websites where you can go and kind of look for what's for lease and things like that. But personally, I've noticed that if you live in an older neighborhood, a lot of the buildings are owned by individuals. Because back in the day, you know how it was for all the people who were like 50 and above, it was a lot more affordable to buy properties and things like that. So in my area, a lot of the buildings are owned by families, not by companies. So I noticed a lot of them are not even on websites. They're just empty. So what you can do is, scope around your area and see, especially if you live in an older area, you can go and see like if a building is empty, you can find the city and ask them and contact them and see if that person is willing to like lease it to you. A lot of the buildings in my area are empty. And they're owned by individuals. So that's another way you can kind of get in to a building, is just by going through, the owner of the building, if it's kind of like a small family-owned building or something like that. A lot of them hold on to the property because obviously as time goes on, the property just grows in value. So they just hold on to it. They probably bought it outright like 40 years ago or something like that for, I don't know, $1,000, and they just own this property. So a lot of them are empty, and they have no desire to lease them out, or they don't have the drive to lease them out, because as long as the building is sitting there, they're just sitting on money. So sometimes you can find them and kind of work with them to see about leasing a property. The property I have is leased by two guys. It's just like it's not like a huge company. They're just a small, just two brothers. So it was a lot easier for me to get into it because I didn't have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops. They were, they just asked me some questions, asked me what my business is about, and then that was pretty much it. But I know if you do go through like bigger companies, like if they have a whole bunch of properties, they might have a lot stricter processes on how to get into a building. So it really just varies on who owns the building. It can be an easy process or it can be a hard process. So that is my advice kind of when looking for a building to start out with. Some other tips is the location. You've always hear people talk about location, but it really is true, because if there is no foot traffic, then it's going to be really hard for you to get sales. So personally, my building is located in a place that doesn't really have a whole bunch of foot traffic, and I moved into the building because it's just right across the street from my house, but I knew that it wasn't going to have like a crazy amount of sales. So just keep that in mind. If you do want a busier location, you're going to have to find a busier, place where there's more foot traffic, but you will have to pay more money for that space. But yeah, my town is really starting to change. A lot of the businesses kind of are closing because companies are like big corporations are coming in and buying these properties that have been sitting for a while and like jacking up the rent. So this town for a while, it was pretty easy to get a storefront, but nowadays a lot more people are selling because, I don't know, these companies are just really buying up these places. But yeah, so getting into a location, I would say, is probably the most stressful part, is just finding the location and getting in there. There's a lot that goes on that I didn't even know as far as like permits go and things like that. When I first got in, I didn't even realize, it didn't cross my mind. Permits did not cross my mind at all. But there's all these different permits that you need just to get started. And it took me a long time to kind of figure that out, because again, there's no one telling you these things. You just have to figure it out the hard way. But once I got the store rolling, all the permits and stuff, now you have to think about like, okay, stocking the store. You need things in a store. So I've learned that having products in your store it's kind of expensive, because once you buy the products and put them on the shelves, you have to sell them. And if they don't sell, then that's kind of like, you're just waiting for those things to sell. But at the same time, you really need to rotate the products, because if a customer comes in and you just have the same products like over and over and over, they're going to get bored of coming in. So then you have to kind of spend money like merchandising the store and kind of changing things around to keep their interest. So stocking the store does take quite a bit of money. What's awesome, I talk about Faire.com all the time, and what's awesome as a buyer is on Faire, you do get credit. So you do get store credit, and you have so me personally, I have $7,000 of store credit. So you can kind of just go in there, buy some things, and then try to move products around and get products sold so you can kind of pay your invoices. And someone asked a really great question. They said, is it hard to just have candles, or do you feel you need items other than candles? Absolutely. When I first started, I knew I was not going to just have candles. I feel like if the space was a little bit smaller, I think I could get away with just having candles. But since it is a bigger space, I thought, okay, candles and a gift shop, because if people are candles are a huge gifting item. So I figured if people are coming to buy candles, a lot of the time they're probably buying a gift, which after, observing people for a year, a lot of people do come in to buy gifts. So if you have other gift shop items in the store, then it kind of helps to sell things, because a lot of the time when people come into the store, they're more likely to make impulse buys. Unlike when you're online and you're shopping, it's very easy to just abandon a cart. But when you're in a store and you take the time to come to the store, you take the time to come in and browse, more than likely you're going to want to leave with something, right? So if it's not a candle, they might want to leave with incense or a mug or perfume. They feel a little bit better leaving with something rather than if they didn't like the candles or something. So I find that people do make like impulse purchases on other things. So it is kind of helpful to at least have some other items in the store. And I think a gift shop goes well with candles. But yeah, so be aware of that. So when you are opening your shop, you're going to have to rotate the merchandise to kind of keep people interested, having sales, and getting involved with the community to get your name out there. So that's another thing that I realized that I had to do. I got involved with the Chamber of Commerce. I started talking a lot more to neighbors, to other business owners, and getting involved with community events. So that's another thing you're going to have to think about, is you're going to have to spend a lot more time in the community to get people to your store. Unlike online, it's more so social media. I think social media can help getting people to your storefront, but it's probably more effective to get connected with the community to get people to your storefront, to your physical business. So those are some of the things that I've learned, and some things that I've really liked about having a storefront is, again, the community aspect, because I feel like when you're running an online business, you really don't talk to people that much out of, offline. But running the storefront, I've met so many people, and now when I go into town, like I was in the gas station and someone was like, oh, the candle lady, and that's something that doesn't really happen when you have just an online store. So it's kind of cool getting to know people and meeting people. And another thing I really like is having a dedicated workspace. So it's nice to kind of get out of the house and go to the storefront and things like that. So with that said, do I like running a storefront? What are my thoughts on running a storefront after a year? So I feel like I really wanted to do this as an experiment to see how it goes, if I like it or not. And the reason I really liked the location is because even though it isn't busy, I didn't really want a super busy foot traffic location because I had no idea what I was doing, right? So I like that it is slower because it gives me a chance to learn and a little bit more flexibility because, I don't expect a whole bunch of people to be coming through my door. So if I was in a mall or something, I think it would have been a lot more stressful trying to operate in the location like that. But my thoughts on having a storefront, I've kind of realized about myself after, having this storefront for a year, I'm not quite sure if I would continue having a storefront for like the next 20 years. I think it's a really good experiment, but I've kind of noticed that I like working at home a lot. They call me the candle lady too. I do enjoy working from home, and I remember I was going through some old videos, and even in a previous video when I was at my other location, which wasn't even a storefront, I just so happened to come across a clip where I was like, man, I just feel so much more productive at home. And I don't know what it is, like I can be doing the same thing at home versus at the location, and for some reason at home I always just like get things done faster, quicker, more efficiently. I don't know what it is, you guys. So for me, having a storefront has been a really great experience, but I don't know if it's something that I'd want to expand to like having 1 million storefronts or something. So I'm really still thinking about it. I do like the aspect of having community and kind of decorating for the seasons and getting involved in events and things like that. But I don't know, you guys, for me, it's just really I like flexibility, and I don't know if there's like something about the way my brain works or whatever, but sometimes I'm just like super productive and sometimes I'm not. So sometimes I just thrive at home, and then sometimes when I go to the storefront I feel like I'm kind of procrastinating. I'm like, oh, I just wish I could go home some days. But sometimes I really like being at the storefront. So I don't know. I'm still on the fence about if I would like to keep going with the storefront, just looking at my own personal goals. And there are a lot of people, like some of my students, they have no desire to get a storefront because it is just like a bump up in the responsibility. So when I was working from home, I can make candles at 11 at night if I wanted to. But there's something about having to get up if I wanted to make candles at 11 at night at a storefront, get up, go to the storefront, make candles in a building by myself. It just like, I don't know, for some reason at home feels a lot more productive to me. So I'm still kind of thinking about, where am I going to go with this? It's a fun, I started it as an experiment to see because the opportunity was there and I was like, why not? My goal is to have a candle subscription service. That's really cool. That's one thing I have not tried yet, and I have had a couple people ask me about the subscription service, but that's one thing I haven't tried. And what's funny is my goal was to have a storefront. So now that I have a storefront, I'm kind of like, do I want to keep having a storefront? And some other reasons about having a storefront is it's very costly to keep it up and going. Of course, you have to pay the rent for the store. And then if you don't want to physically be at the storefront, you have to have an employee, which my employee is there right now. She works on the weekends. So that another thing about the store is like you're dedicated to the hours. So if you had an event or whatever, you would have to find someone to work the storefront, or you would just close your store. But yeah, so you have to be dedicated to those hours. So I'm really into like flexibility and things like that. So it is nice on the weekends because I'm like, do I want to go today, or is she just going to take care of it, my employee? So it's really nice to have someone there to help you out at your store. But let's see. But yeah, so I've been running the storefront for a year, and like I said, upkeep. So paying the rent, and then the internet, the electricity, the water. And then I always get kind of like, another thing I notice, a lot of random people will come in and try to sell me things. So they'll try to sell me like their products, or they will sell me on services or things like that. So I have to spend a lot of time listening to people kind of pitching me their products and services. But yeah, so I'm kind of like, let's see what someone said here. Please consider doing a candle subscription service. I would subscribe in a heartbeat. Yeah, so I'm just kind of learning some things about myself, which is really, really interesting, because, for the longest I was like, I want a storefront, but then I'm kind of learning about myself and how I operate and how I work. And I'm like, I don't know, So after a year of running a storefront, it's just kind of, I like it, but I'm really noticing some things that I feel like I'm kind of on the fence about. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if I continue running the storefront or not. I think it's been a really fun, interesting, and the thing that I love most about running the storefront is I have gotten so much knowledge about how to operate a business by having the brick and mortar shop. So I'm really grateful for that it's helped me kind of gain so much more knowledge about running a business. But yeah, I'm very much like a person. I don't know, I've never been diagnosed with ADHD, but I really do. I'm like, I think I need to see if I have that, because I like to do a whole bunch of things. So I don't only make candles, I like to do a million other things. My head is always in a million places. So I feel like the storefront, I feel like having a brick and mortar, it kind of keeps me in this one place and not even physically, but just mentally, having the storefront just in this one place. I have to go to the storefront and make the candles and be there and keep it going. So I'm kind of like, I like to do a million other things. Before the storefront, when I was just kind of at home or in that other like workshop that I had, there's some times where I was like, I'm not really going to do a whole bunch this month. I'm going to take some time. But when you have a storefront, you got to be there. You can't just like take time off unless you're like hiring people, which gets kind of costly. So that's kind of like my experience running a storefront. I feel like, what was I going to say? I had some notes here. I feel like when you own the building, it's a lot easier. So there is like an older lady that she owns like an antique shop, and she owns the building. So for her, like, she just kind of goes in, and she probably really doesn't expect many customers because she, owns the building. But when you're leasing the building, you're kind of like hustling to make sure everything's getting taken care of, that you have everything in stock. And yeah, so it's quite a bit more work. It's a lot more work. And I'm realizing that, but it's been really fun. So I'm kind of really excited for fall to see how fall works out, because that's when candles start picking up again. I've noticed that the sales have really dropped for the summer, because obviously people spend money on experiences in the summer rather than products. So it happens every year. So usually in the summer is when candles really don't sell that much. But yeah, so I've really enjoyed like the make your own candle station, having kids coming in making candles. Like, that's been really fun too, to see people like enjoying making candles. I'm thinking of doing maybe some workshops. I've had people request to do like in-person candle making workshops and things like that. But yeah, that's kind of my experience. They're having like rolling blackouts. I don't think the computer went off, but there's been like 3 so far because it's really hot. I think it's really hot right now in Texas, but I thought the temperature says it's gonna be like 106, but I've noticed this morning or today there's been like rolling blackouts, like the electricity is going on and off. So do you all have any questions about running a storefront? I just wanted to kind of put this out there because I have gotten a lot of messages from people about opening a storefront, and it is a big financial investment, getting all the furniture and all the products in, and a time investment being there, talking to customers. So although it can be rewarding, and I really do enjoy having like my own space and my own store, and it's crazy when I drive by and I'm like, that's my store, so it's been a really fun experience. But like I said, I'm a very laid back person that does a million things, and I like to have flexibility. So I'm on the fence of if a storefront is for me permanently, but it's been a really fun experience. And now that I have the experience, I can like teach other people about the realities of having a small business brick and mortar store. Whereas like before, there was nobody I could go to that I knew. I tried looking online everywhere, and all of the things that I was seeing were just like, they weren't really up my alley. So I love that I have that experience to kind of help other people. Let's see. But yes, you guys, I'm really wanting to get back into like making more content and things. Like I said in the beginning of the stream, the past year has just been kind of like crazy for me, just like really crazy. So I do enjoy doing like live streams and things like that, and making more content. And a lot of people loved the podcast because I get on here and I talk about things that not a lot of people talk about. Like when you look up how to start a candle business, or anything candle business, there's the steps, like, oh, this is how you do an Etsy shop, or this is how you open a Shopify store, this is how you make a candle. But there's so much more that goes into a business than learning how to open your Etsy shops. Like once you open your Etsy shop, what do you do from there? How do you make sales? Like here's my Etsy shop, but no one's coming to it. So I feel like a lot of that stuff gets missed, and I like to really give people the reality and tell them like, I've opened my brick and mortar store. It's not just this nice thing that you see in videos. Like there is, this whole operation behind it, and there's good things and there's bad things about, running a storefront. And so I like to kind of give the people, the reality. So I have gotten a lot of questions about opening a storefront, so I wanted to make sure that I kind of touch on everything about it. Yeah, there isn't a lot of after content. I noticed that about YouTube, and a lot of people will make videos on how to do certain things, but then it kind of gets people, amped up, which is cool, to start their candle business. But then you start your candle business and you're like, whoa, okay, what do we do? What do we do after that? Hello, Creations by Kay. I'm seeing some familiar names. I think a couple of you are my students. Yes, excellent point. Thanks for speaking the truth about running a storefront. Yeah, so honestly, like I said, storefronts are huge investments. I would say if you don't have like the money to do it, I wouldn't say take out a loan. I would not say, take out equity on your house or anything. So with my storefront, it was financed from myself. Like I didn't take the loans out. Loans can be super beneficial to business, but I feel like when you take a loan out on your business, you almost expect to make money, make your money back, pay the loan, and make profit. So I think loans can be beneficial if you really know that your project or idea is just going to make profit. But with a storefront, that really isn't the case unless you're like Starbucks or McDonald's. Like that you're going to make money. So when you're taking out loans and stuff, it puts a lot more financial burden. So even if I closed my store tomorrow, yeah, I would lose the money I put into it, but it's not like I'm going to lose my house or something. You know what I mean? So just be aware of that too. Don't get too excited and start taking all this money out and stuff like that, because brick and mortar stores are kind of risky. Yeah. So I think everything, I didn't take out a loan to open the store. It was just money that I was like, I have this money. Here's the storefront. let's give it a shot. I feel like you can always, make money again, but when you start, kind of putting things up for collateral, it's like it kind of gets a little bit risky if you're not for sure if you're going to make like profit or not from it. But yeah, so I'm really excited to do these podcasts again. Like I said, this is just going to be a great place where we can get the reality of things and not just like the surface points, I like to tell people how it is, running a business, it's not all, hunky-dory, I guess. Sometimes it's really cool, like, when I was mentioning earlier, getting amazing opportunities like writing a book and being featured in certain things and, doing really cool projects. Sometimes that stuff's cool. But sometimes you do have the downsides where it's like, things cost money. It costs money to operate a business, and sometimes it can get stressful. Sometimes things happen. Like I had a whole bunch of orders like the other week, and there were wholesale orders, and I used UPS, which I usually use USPS, and they all came back melted, and so that was a whole fiasco. So sometimes things just go crazy. I think people fall in love with the pretty side, and it's actually a lot of work. You are very correct. Like, running the candle business has been an extreme amount of work, and not only like, physical work, but also mentally. There is a lot, that goes on with running a business, and especially when you're the boss, when it's up to you. Sometimes that can be very stressful when, things are, because it's risky. It's not like, sometimes I imagine when I was working at my 9 to 5, and I'm like, wow, I miss clocking out and then just coming home. You know what I mean? But when you run a business, there's no like clocking out. You're always thinking about it. You're always thinking about products or things like that. So it is a lot. So like you said, sometimes people do get blindsided with the pretty side. But I like to keep it real. And so I like to teach people how to actually, make sales. And sometimes people, they think, oh, well, I'll just put things on TikTok or this and that. There's a lot more to it to make sales and to, make the candles and to make a niche and all that. And I've learned that throughout the years, because when I first started my candle business, I thought, okay, I'm just going to make a candle and put it on Etsy. And it was kind of getting sales here and there, but that's when I was like, oh, I need to learn SEO. I need to learn search engine optimization. I need to learn how to actually make a good candle that's going to get good reviews. And I need to learn how to talk to people in my community. So there's a lot more than just how to start your Etsy shop, how to start your Shopify store. So I really like to be that resource for people to be like, okay, it can be done, but this is what we need to do to get there. Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. Hello. So I hope you all enjoyed the live stream. If you have any other questions, let's see. What are your favorite? Who are you? You are by my, I can't read right now because my son is distracting me. You are by far my favorite candle instructor. You give me helpful information and the nitty gritty. Yes, you guys. Like I said, I like to get the information and get the real information. Hold on, my employee was texting me something. But yeah, the nitty gritty. And sometimes, sometimes people don't want to hear it, but it's, I would rather someone tell me the truth. Stop. I would rather someone tell me the truth than try to sell me on this dream. And even when people join Candle Biz Academy, my course, I've had someone, every time I launch, there's always one person who will email me, guys, who will email me, and they're wanting like you said, selling you the dream. So they're telling me, I want to quit my job in a year. I want to go full time. I want to do this and that. Oh gosh, my employee's messaging me. But I message people and I'm like, if you're looking to quit your job in a year, I don't sell this as a get rich quick course. I sell it as a class that you can use throughout your whole business journey, which, it takes years if you're dedicated for years. So, I turn people away. I'm like, if you are trying to just quit your job in a year or get rich or be TikTok famous, this probably is not the program for you. Let's see. I ordered your program a year ago. Can I still continue? Yes. So what's awesome about it is, stop, honey. What's awesome about it is even if you order it or even if you subscribe to the program, you can log in. It's lifetime access. So as long as I'm running the program, you can log in. Even if I do updates, and that I was mentioning earlier, I really dislike when people put expirations on the program. So I was in a program that cost me $8,000 and it was very helpful, and I would recommend the program to someone, but it expired after 6 months. So I paid $8,000 for this program, which I ended up finishing it. I had to hustle and I finished the program. But I really wish I would have had access to the resources, because sometimes you're like, oh man, I remember that being in the program, and then it expired and you're like, wait, I can't log in. So I made my Candle Biz Academy to where even if you, people who bought it like 2 years ago are just now starting it and they're logging in, because life gets in the way. Like you can see back here, like you can see exactly what I'm talking about, you guys. So people have other things going on. But yeah, so if you buy the program, you can access it as long as I'm running it. But yes, you guys, I think I am going to go ahead and log off because my child is running crazy. But thank you for tuning in to this. I'm going to start doing these more regularly, and I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you guys